I stand here today
on an island in the middle of the mighty Mississippi,
clear-eyed about the fight ahead.
to declare
these words.
that
I am a candidate for president.
I'm running for president of the United States of America.
President of the United States.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Hi everyone, and welcome to another Woke Wednesday. This podcast was created to shed light on different societal issues which have been at the forefront of public discourse through one of the most divisive times in American history. More so, it was created with the intent of allowing those who have often been neglected, shunned, or misunderstood to have a chance to share their experiences and thoughts. I hope that this dialogue encourages critical conversation and activism amongst all listeners, and I hope you'll tell all your friends about it and share it on your social platforms. For the next few weeks, we are going to begin a series that focuses specifically on the 2020 presidential candidates. Each episode will detail the candidates' personal and political life, all with the hope of helping to inform our listeners and beyond on each of the candidates. By promoting insight into each of these people, our hope is that each voter is able to make educated, well-informed decisions on who they'll cast their ballot for in the next presidential election. I also want to encourage you to seek out other outlets like mine to have a wider grasp on who these individuals are and what they bring to the table for you and your loved ones, because we all know that everyone has implicit biases, myself included. Each episode will, of course, highlight our own personal thoughts concerning the candidates, what the country needs moving forward, and how this person could potentially impact our society holistically. I also want to point out that we've chosen to highlight each candidate in alphabetical order, instead of choosing who may or may not be a favorite of our own, in order to remain conscious of how our own implicit bias can affect how the episodes are previewed. We also want to point out that while every presidential candidate running has different noteworthy platforms, we're only covering candidates with a somewhat plausible chance of winning the candidacy. Moreover, we also recognize that there are a multitude of candidates running for this position, which makes it impossible to allocate an episode to every candidate there is. If there is any candidate that you all feel strongly about that we don't make it to, please let us know by engaging with us on Facebook and Instagram. We definitely love hearing feedback from our listeners. Lastly, we are starting a special vlog series via social media to update our listeners on those current event issues that are most important to you and to us. To be informed on when the vlogging will be posted, please follow along on Facebook or our Instagram at Have a Woke Wednesday. With that, on this episode, we're featuring Democratic presidential candidate and entrepreneur Andrew Yang.
We are experiencing the greatest technological and economic shift in human history. We need a way to help millions of Americans transition through this period, and a universal basic income is the best and most efficient way to do that. Hello, I'm Andrew Yang, and I'm running for president as a Democrat in 2020. I believe I have the right vision, priorities, and values to improve the lives of millions of Americans. 7 years ago, I started Venture for America to train hundreds of young entrepreneurs to build businesses in Detroit, Cleveland, Baltimore, and other communities across the country. Together, we helped create thousands of jobs. But during this time, I came to realize that technology has already wiped out 4 million manufacturing jobs in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and other states. And it's about to do the same thing to people who work in retail, food service and food prep, customer service, transportation, as well as industries like insurance, accounting, medicine, and law. I saw so much over the last number of years traveling this country. What I experienced was an eye-opener to me, where I would walk through abandoned neighborhoods and boarded up businesses. I have 2 young boys, and I'm deeply concerned about the future that they're going to grow up in. If we don't change things dramatically, they're going to grow up in a country with fewer and fewer opportunities, and a handful of companies and individuals reaping the gains from new technologies while the rest of us struggle to find opportunities and eventually lose our jobs. And it doesn't need to be that way. Under my plan, every American adult will receive $1,000 a month, free and clear, paid for by a new tax on the companies that are benefiting most from automation. If we provide a universal basic income, Americans will be able to go back to school, move for a new opportunity, start their own business, and really have their head up as they plan for the future. With your help, we can make universal basic income a reality. Join us and let's build a new kind of economy, one that puts people first.
Andrew Yang grew up in upstate New York as the son of two Taiwanese immigrants. His parents met at UC Berkeley, where his father earned a PhD in physics and worked in IBM research, labs, and General Electric. His father has remarkably generated 69 patents in his career. His mother earned a statistics degree and later became an artist. His mother is now president of the Pastel Association of Taiwan and has won awards in Spain and Taipei for her paintings. Yang attended New Hampshire's Phillips Exeter High School, one of America's top boarding schools. Notable alumni of this school ranges from Franklin Pierce, our nation's 14th president, and Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. Yang has talked at some points of being bullied in school because of his race, yet in this presidential race, he's fully taken ownership of being clear in his immigrant and minority background. Ooh, I see you. He visits Taiwan every year to see family and has made it clear that he's here to stay in terms of not backing down due to racial stereotyping or any sort of the matter. If Yang does secure the Democratic nominee, he'd be the first Asian to ever secure a major party's nomination. And if he were to win the presidency, he'd be the first Asian to do that as well. After graduating high school, Yang attended Brown, where he studied political science and economics. He then went on to Columbia Law to earn his Juris Doctorate. In terms of his childhood, Yang says that he grew up believing in the American dream and relates to the struggles of Americans because of the struggles he's had in the business world when he graduated college. He gave corporate law a shot for about a year before realizing it wasn't for him. He then decided to become an entrepreneur, which he quickly realized he'd have to try and try again before becoming successful, like many other entrepreneurs. However, he claims that these failures taught him how to build a business from more experienced entrepreneurs. After leaving his corporate cushy job, literally he was making over six figures with a $25,000 yearly bonus, he began a startup that combined charity and celebrity. The internet startup lasted 5 months before Yang was out of a job. He obviously had to figure out how he'd pay back his law school debt. Literally, he was $100,000 in debt and live. He joined MMF Systems, a healthcare startup, as its VP and third hire. Because he was worried that this would go under too, he threw parties as a side hustle and started teaching the GMAT on the side for a friend's company, Manhattan Prep. If you don't know what the GMAT is, it's basically the standardized test you need to get into business school. So like the LSAT of law school or the MCAT of medical school. He eventually became the CEO of Manhattan Prep, where he personally taught analyst class at McKinsey, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and Morgan Stanley. He also met his now wife, Evelyn, during this time, and they share 2 sons together. His company found immense success, and he eventually sold it to Kaplan in 2009 for tens of millions of dollars. But he stayed on as president of the company until 2011. After Manhattan Prep, Yang created a nonprofit called Venture for America, which was modeled after Teach for America, and is a fellowship that takes recent college graduates trains them with different business skills, and then sends them to work at a startup, particularly in cities like Detroit, New Orleans, Cleveland, or Baltimore, or cities in general that have been struggling financially. Yang wanted to send his fellows to these cities in order to boost their revenue and their economic stability. Yang has also argued in his book, Smart People Should Build Things, that top universities hand select the smartest kids from towns and then funnel them through the same corporate jobs. Duh. Which is another reason he started Venture for America, because he wanted to distribute talent across the country and incentivize entrepreneurship. However, I will say that although I do agree with him on this stance, in some ways, he does the same thing with Venture for America by only selecting typically the top talent from prestigious universities. Although he is, I guess, doing better by distributing the talent across the country and not in places like upstate New York or Silicon Valley, he's still doing the same thing. After the 2 years, if the fellows wish to start their own business, Venture for America has an accelerator and seed fund and investment fund that allows them to do so. In an interview, Yang stated that thus far they've helped create over 3,000 jobs and that dozens of their alums have started their own companies, some of which have now raised millions of dollars and generated millions of dollars in revenue. By 2025, Yang hopes that Venture for America will have created 100,000 jobs. In 2012, the Obama White House named Yang a champion of change, and 3 years later, they made him a presidential ambassador for global entrepreneurship. By 2017, Venture for America was operating with a $6 million annual budget and was featured in Generation Startup, a documentary that featured 6 startup companies that launched through the Venture for America program. In 2017 as well, Yang stepped down as the CEO. Truthfully, Yang's entrepreneurial spirit is nothing short of exemplifying what most believe the American dream is and what they want out of this country. So in some ways, you definitely can't take that away from him, but also acknowledging the fact that he still does have an Ivy League education, unlike most lower income or working class Americans, as well as his parents do. Recognizing privilege is a big component of defining success in America, especially today when the hierarchy of power is so dependent on a large network and an even larger wallet to stimulate success for oneself. I mean, what even is the American dream? I have some thoughts about that, but that's tea for later. In 2017, Yang then filed with the FEC to run for president. In February of 2019, he spoke with the New York Times that his one main concern centered around the robot apocalypse. He believes that the automation and advanced artificial intelligence will soon take millions of jobs and make them obsolete, and says that America needs to take radical steps to prevent Great Depression level unemployment. He's not wrong on this either. A growing number of labor economists and tech experts are worried about this as well. In 2017, McKinsey & Company concluded that by 2030, as many as 1/3 of American jobs may disappear because of automation. What Yang wants to do to prevent this, as well as boost economic mobility for everyday Americans, because he also believes that for years, educated, entitled elites have rigged the system and hoovered money away from the middle class and towards the coast, giving little in return, is by creating the universal basic income, or freedom dividend. Although Yang supports the UBI would give $1,000 monthly to every American aged 18 to 64, regardless of income or employment status. Yang believes that these payments would bring approximately every American up to at least the poverty line, even if they were directly affected by automation. I have some thoughts about the poverty line. So technically, the poverty line is determined by a 50-year-old formula, and the Census Bureau has not adjusted it to match standards of living today in 2019. So we're using this outdated formula to determine who's impoverished and who's not. However, how can we do that with a formula that was during times where standards of living was exponentially lower in the 50s and the 60s versus now when things are more modernized, technology, things are expensive, so expensive today. So the poverty line, I have problems with how it's measured because it doesn't accurately represent who's actually impoverished today and who isn't. I mean, if you don't know what it's like to actually be poor and actually to not have basic necessities consistently, why are people at the top determining, oh, this person should be considered poor and this person shouldn't? No. If you don't know, honestly, I believe you shouldn't be the ones determining that accuracy because you haven't experienced it and you truly don't know what it's like for people who are poor and who do struggle on a day-to-day basis to fight for the things that they need, like food or water or shelter or clothing. I'm just saying, those are just my thoughts and opinions. And that's not to say that the people who are creating these measures of poverty can't empathize with those at the bottom or things of that nature. However, I think it needs to be taken from an opinion of people who actually experience poverty. I'm just saying. In regards to the UBI, for people that receive government benefits such as SNAP, they could either choose to continue those benefits or receive the $1,000, which again, I personally have problems with this as well because there are a lot of people who could actually need that extra $1,000 and those government benefits that they've signed up for. So why, if this is to increase economic mobility, why do these people now have to choose either or? I'm just saying that's problematic for me. Medicare and Medicaid would be unaffected by his plan. The Freedom Dividend Plan is not a new one either, being that it's been popular in academic circles and think tank ones for decades, and people like MLK Jr. and economist Milton Friedman were proponents of it. Silicon Valley people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Mark Andreessen have all expressed support for universal basic income as well. Other issues that have gained attention because of their uniqueness is the idea that Yang would like to hire a White House psychologist, someone who would explicitly monitor the mental health of employees in the executive branch. Yang recognizes that holding this job is exponentially stressful and can take a toll on one's mental stability, and wants to ensure that there's someone who can make recommendations for staff members in order to keep everyone at the healthiest emotional state. He also wants to turn April 15th into a national holiday. To stop corruption, Yang suggests raising the president's salary from $400,000 annually, as what it is right now, to $4 million, and raising the pay of other federal officials, but barring them from accepting paid speaking engagements and lucrative private sector jobs after the White House, after their tenure. Which, $4 million a year? I don't know about that one. In all honesty, he should be vouching, while having a White House psychologist is a great idea, he should be vouching for a normalized approach to mental health professions across the country, not just for one specific job or duty. There are different jobs that bring added stress and put a lot of pressures on individuals. Just saying. Holistically, Yang's platforms covers a wide array of issues, but he's only talked explicitly on how he plans on solving specific problems or issues like UBI. His website currently addresses over 100 platforms, and many are centered around the ideas of equality, well-being, safety, and more. Yet, some don't even have concrete plans. His three big issues at the forefront of his campaign are the Freedom Dividend, Medicare for All, and human-centered capitalism, which I don't even really know if that exists. But human-centered capitalism means that our own economy should maximize human well-being and fulfillment by creating new measurements based on median income and standard of living, health-adjusted life expectancy, mental health, childhood success rates, social and economic mobility, absence of substance abuse, and other factors will give society a clear picture of how we're all doing holistically and individually. Yang has also said that he wants to eliminate super PACs altogether, and it's mentioned on his website. However, he has received over $2,500 in super PAC donations, but hasn't said where that money has gone, which I'm just saying, although he wants to eliminate them, in my head, if you want to eliminate them altogether, that means you shouldn't be accepting donations from them in the first place. Just saying. While Yang is considered a long shot at not only winning the presidency, but securing the nomination, he has gained a lot of traction in this race because of his ideas and quirky personality. Not to mention his appeal to those that wish to have someone not soiled by Washington. Yet others argue that his inexperience in politics will be a major downfall in him ever securing the nomination. Yang has proved to be an engaging candidate for his voter base and even outside of it. He's currently only polling at 1%, but was able to gain thousands of followers after the first debate and after his tweets that he'd give out $1,000 monthly to a certain follower for the next year. Not gonna lie, I followed him after this. It goes without saying that Yang joining this race is by no means an accident. With the 2018 midterm elections just behind us, we saw a surge in the number of Asian Americans running for political office and winning, as well as the fact that the Asian American population is growing at the fastest rate in this country. What we're witnessing right now is a historic and important moment for a group that has for so long been excluded, not only from politics, but the United States in general. It's encouraging to see more and more representation of different racial groups across the board in what we, for so long, have known to be only belonging exclusively to white men. What Yang is doing, although many believe won't result in winning, is still monumental to say the least. I personally hadn't had him on my radar until his UBI plan came out, which propelled me to look into him and to this crazy idea of giving $1,000 a month to every single American. While he's polled fairly low consistently, I do believe that economic immobility is a root cause of systemic oppression in this country because the system wasn't built to economically favor marginalized communities. While Yang's way of dismantling this might seem radical to others, as someone who grew up in deep poverty, I can't begin to tell you how much $1,000 more a month could have meant to my family, and I can guarantee you other working class individuals and families could agree with me on that. However, I'm not sure if his intricate plan would even be passed, or is that what the right move we need to make for our economy? Just saying. Ultimately, watching him in the upcoming debate, I want to see him push out of his relaxing mode and really press to earn the vote of American people, because he owes it not only to himself, but to his base as well, if he really actually wants to win.
This is like something that I've picked up from Dennis in part. So I'm with this trucker in Iowa, and he says to me, I don't think that Democrats care about people like me. And he says that to me while I'm in his truck. And I'm just like, I can understand why he feels that way, but that's incredibly destructive. Because there is a point at which Democratic Party used to be very, very heavily aligned with working class Americans. Yeah. The savings from robot trucks are estimated to be $168 billion a year. So I'm running for president in large part because I think we need to get in front of this set of problems. We have to say, look, if we're going to save $168 billion a year, maybe some of that should go to the truckers and give them a soft landing.
The fact is that you're actually worried about the little guy. You know, you're actually worried about the truck driver. You're actually worried about that man or lady answering the phone, or the fast food worker, that no one ever is going to get up on any kind of a political platform and talk about.
I'm going to talk about it.
And that says a lot about you. The fact that you even came out here with me today and you took time out of your schedule to drive around in a truck and meet truck drivers and walk around a truck stop just to see what it's like. They don't ever do that. And they just don't seem to remember that, hey, it's the little guy like us, the blue collar worker, that we built this country. And here you are sitting with me today and saying the stuff that you have said. I have to follow you now.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
I really will. And I'm not just saying that because you're here.
I know you're a straight shooter. So
Yeah, like I said, I voted for Mr. Trump for many reasons. I don't agree with everything he does. But you don't seem like you're a politician. You really seem like you're a genuine person that has the American people at your heart.
We'll see what the viewers and the rest of America thinks as more and more debates come and as Yang either increases or does the quite opposite in the polls. I hope that this episode was informative and thought-provoking for all that listened and for those that will listen in the future. I hope that Yang's unorthodox methods captures more and more people as we continue to move forward in the debates and the race. While many believe he's not a viable candidate for this position, I hope that we all at least look at his platform and initiatives for what they are and how they'll impact society holistically, instead of just writing him off altogether. You never know, there could be more to it than meets the eye. Remember, all of these opinions are my own, but they should be everyone else's. Have a woke Wednesday. Thank you for another Woke Wednesday. Transcripts of entire episodes will be available on the Woke Wednesday website. Episodes are written and produced by Hannah Mason and Trey Leonard of Linico Entertainment. Episodes are hosted by Hannah Mason and edited by Trey Leonard. All graphics are designed by Anna French.